Like to pull out the ratchet and just get ratchet. Show the white supremacists how much we matter. Eventually Obama's about going ham on MAGA cause they don't catch it. If you're rational, then hand them the data. Or let MAGA see me on magazines just flashing. Show America don't need to tan, it's happening natural. That the soul train picking up steam and moving faster than nasty women about their business and niggas not on their masters. God called me up, saw me huff the pup. He said, you hard now, what? Said his cars now on guns, gon' ball out and stunt. You hurt, so now you hurt, gon' go to war to get love. Everything red now target, everything white now bomb threat. Trade the noose for a holster, strap your child in the harness, go on. Show me how you gon' solve it. Fight fire with fire, losing the first one coughing. Beloved, I decide to fall of a sparrow. I see you pray Google for answers, subscribe to every channel. Hoping the only news is worthy is Lin-Manuel Miranda. Hoping you wake up in Charlottesville never happened. But I'm not gonna solve it, not that fast, not at once. Won't say why, won't budge, and I cannot be judged. I feel no malice, I feel no remorse. I do feel compassion, have we lost our rapport? Do you get fair reports? Did you feed the poor? Miss me with your guilt. There's still time to start. You need your brothers and sisters, you better deal with your brother. The orbit of the apple, Siri don't know what is just. We go by points and check the most privilege at the front. Who has the most likes? We those measure love. We both on either side can be as pure as the dove and love. I don't love doves even half as much as I love you. Stories writ without your consent or premeditate. See how far you get. Love is patient, you idiot, and you've left yourself wide open, wide open, wide open. The story's written without your consent or premeditate. See how far you get. Love is patient, you idiot, and you've left yourself wide open. Oh, left yourself wide open. Oh, left yourself wide open. Oh, left yourself wide open.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. You were just listening to Precious Gorgeous, also known as Ralph Jean-Pierre, and that was I Wonder What It Costs to Be Something That Beautiful from the Gotta Get My Life Together album. Hi, my name is Lex Alston. I use they, he pronouns, and I am so very excited to welcome you to Noises Off, a conversation, Noses Off, a conversation about what it means to be a clown who is Black in America. And this is brought to you by Clown Jim. Let's see. I think you know why we're having this conversation. It's always been so important to have a space for Black artists in white dominated spaces to have a place to speak to their experiences, to tell what they've been through, and just the complexities of navigating these white dominated spaces. I'm so excited today as a self-proclaimed Black baby clown to learn from these seasoned clowns. So we'll do about an hour of discussion. I will throw some questions at them. We'll just talk the talk. And then after about an hour of discussion, we'll open up the floor to the Q&A, which you can, if you're in the webinar, you can go right in. There should be a Q&A button right down there. You can type in your questions, and we will get to as many as we possibly can in the time of 30 minutes. Okay, cool. All right, great. All right, so this panel is totally free. If you'd like to contribute to myself and my fellow artists, you can do so on Venmo at Clown Jim, or you can do so at PayPal at juliaproctor@gmail.com. And now, without further ado, I'm so very excited to introduce you to our panelists. If our panelists could turn our cameras on, please. Let's see. Lovely, hello, Carolyn. Okay. Hello, Omari. And hello, Michelle. So first, I would like to first ask, before I go ahead, ask my pronouns, go around and ask pronouns from everybody. So Carolyn, would you mind telling me your pronouns?
Yes, hi, she, her, hers.
All right, thank you so much. Omari, would you mind telling me your pronouns?
Yes, he and they.
All right, thank you. And then Michelle, would you mind telling me your pronouns? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Ta-da!
Oh, yes, hello.
I encourage the use of all pronouns.
Okay, we love, okay. And my pronouns are they and he. And I'd like to introduce my wonderful fellow clowns. We have performing artist, creative advocate, and Theater of the Oppressed NYC Joker, Omari Soulfinger. We have Emmy-nominated actor, director, and writer, Carolyn Ratteray. She's here in my screen. I don't know, we'll see. And then we have performer, teacher, producer, and director, Michelle Matlock, who has clowned around with the likes of Cirque du Soleil, Big Apple Circus, Circus Amok, and Bindleston Family Circus, who I am kin to. And wow, okay, and that's introductions. And so I guess now we talk. Okay, cool. What a concept. So my first question for everybody here is, what is clown? And you can either just go ahead or just go do your thing. Yeah. What is clown?
I was told there would be softball questions.
We're digging in. We just jumping right in.
We're jumping right in. What is clown to you? I know it's broad. That's very broad.
I'll start off.
Sure.
And I just am so stoked to be here. When Lex and Julie were like, there's a Black clown panel, I was like, oh my God. So I just hope Omari and Michelle, you know that you'll never get rid of me now. I'm gonna be like, hey, yo, what's up? So anyway, yeah, just really excited to be a part of this. What is clown? For me, I'm the one of this panel that doesn't do clown professionally. For me, I have used it as a amazing tool, as a performer, human, as a professor, as a teacher. It's been a tool that has allowed me to access my vulnerability. It's been a tool that's allowed me to find the current of my joy. It's been a tool that's allowed me like step into the wonder that and the innocence that's like always in my spirit, but sometimes in this world, it's like easy to get disconnected from that or out of touch with it. So for me, it's this like space, this place to step into within that, yeah, that connects me to all of those things that I mentioned. That's like my intro answer. I can like, dive in, but I just thought I'd open it up in that way.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Who's that?
Okay, I'll go. I don't know. I go with a lot of word association, I guess. And clown to me is all that, Carolyn, all that. And clown is comedy.
Mhm.
Clown is slapstick. Clown is presence. It's truth. It's childlike. It's ridiculous. It's forever.
Mhm. Yeah, clown forever. Absolutely.
That was like a spoken word poem. I love that. How is that? Yeah, and I also wanted to uplift Carolyn. I'm honored to be here. I took a class with Michelle not too long ago that really took me on the level. So it's great to share a panel with you, Michelle. I'm grateful for that. And Carolyn, we're just meeting. I agree. Like us black clowns got to stick together. We could probably fill a room somewhere. So I'm blessed to be here. And for me, clown is being an artist in failure. A clown to me is like accepting that failure is part of being a human and just like playing with it a little bit. Clown to me is about embracing the cringe. I say that cringe is the rejection of self, a rejection of the moment. And so as a clown, you're like, I love this. I'm not going to reject the moment of the cringe. And yeah, and I think clown is comedy as well. And I think comedy is when you take an expectation, like a strained expectation, and you just keep straining it out until it becomes absurd. And I think the clown is the best example. Like we take it even further. We take that expectation of what you think is going to happen, and we stretch it past it in any sense, which is really radical in my opinion.
Great, cool. I love. So would you say that like clown has helped you like grow into who you are? Would you say it's helped you grow into your being, the human that you are?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, I think clown absolutely transformed my performance life. Like being introduced to clown, and I was dragged into clowning, kicking and screaming. I just was coming out of a theater background, classical training, and classical actress. I'm not a clown because I'd never seen anyone that looked like me who was a clown, who claimed being a clown. So I didn't know what that meant really. But clowning, I think, made me a better actor, acting. Um, and clown has, taken me around the world and back.
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like I was born a clown, but I wasn't allowed to be one because of the body I was born in at first, something I had to claim. I grew up in Brooklyn during the 90s during the crack epidemic. And so the skills that come natural to a clown, which I think is playfulness, I think like a little self-deprecation, like gracefulness, and comedy were just not the skills that my community were encouraging me as a Black boy to have. And so I was shamed out of all the things that I realized was like natural to me. And not for any mean reason besides that, like my community wanted me to survive the conditions. And so the pure elements and the playful elements, I think other folks get a lot of more time and a privilege and resources to develop. It took a long, long time before I realized that why I'm trying to do this thing in class, why I'm purposely practicing falls and why I'm like in love with Charlie Chaplin is okay, even though they don't look like me. And there was like a history of like, you know, being made fun of because you're Black in this country. So for me to do, you know, the faces of the Little Rascals, which I thought were hilarious, or do even Laurel and Hardy, all those faces in my Black body, like brought up images to like the adults around me of like really messed up stuff. And so, you know, there's always that, like, you better act like you got some sense. And I was like, no, I'm trying to act like I don't have sense. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. And so, yeah, I feel like I was born it. And as far as transforming it, yeah, once I realized like, oh no, my body makes people uncomfortable anyway. People are like coming up with ridiculous stories about me anyway. Like, and like very naturally there's shame involved, and I'm gonna just claim it. I'm gonna choose it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna challenge that. That made the biggest difference. I'm like, yeah, I'm embracing it. And now people go, oh yeah, he's a clown, you know, and that was very common. I mean, like, yeah, damn right, I'm a clown. Like, it feels very powerful and liberating to like,
yeah.
I grew up not being able to smile in pictures, you know, so it changed my life to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to just to hop off of what Omari said in the previous question, that clown being like that ability to practice failure. I think that is transforming as a human being, like the qualities that it takes to kind of pursue and develop and find the clown. Once you like translate that to life, I think it's been so useful, and especially around building that muscle of being able to fail and stand in it, and then wait and then witness yourself through it, and then see that on the other side of that is like this freedom from like my ego reaction of having to like pull up walls or apologize or like, you know, in some way because I failed, and we're not allowed to do that as like people, Black people, women, whatever. But also like, oh, I can practice this muscle through this craft of standing in this, and on the other side of that is like lightness and freedom, and like it's gonna be okay, and then I'm gonna fail again, and so the practice of that, the practice of vulnerability, the practice of not knowing, and especially of not knowing too, right? There's so much pressure to like expect things to go a particular way, or like I have a presentation of self that I want to put out to the world, and it's like, no, I'm gonna practice not knowing, and then being okay with everyone's perceptions of what that looks like, and still be okay after that. And it's like, oh, I think this might be the secret of life, y'all. Like everybody needs to practice this.
For real.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I just feel like clown is such I feel so enlightened by, and I feel, well, so I you know, clown in a, like being a clown in a Black body, it feels like a radical act. Like it feels like you know, like it feels like you're breaking the rules a little bit. And like kind of like, and so, you know, so now moving on. So thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. So how does I want to talk a little bit about like how you know, I want to talk about that radical act, because I mentioned it. I want to talk about it. So let's talk about it. So Michelle, when I talked to Michelle, she said clown is a privilege. And it is. And I think it's a privilege that can be that is so, I mean, all privileges are, you know, like beneficial. And I think that clown is so beneficial to finding your spirit and just becoming your true self. And I'm wondering, like, how do we, Black people need that? like we need that. And this is a really like broad question that might not have an answer. And it also does have an answer, but how do we bring clown to more Black people? How do we share this tool, this beautiful tool that we've been blessed with? How can we pay it forward? How can we, and this, you know, is really like just like a creative answer, really. But yeah, like I just, what do you think? How do you think we can bring this to more people like us?
I think it's just to keep doing it
Mm-hmm.
in as many different formats and ways that we can, and to keep teaching and connecting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, because it's, you know, it's interesting, just in my personal journey being in a lot of the rooms. Well, I got thrown into professional clowning way before I even knew what the hell I was doing. Okay, so I was like, and then being the only one in the room in many cases, and there's, you know, it's just having to navigate through all that, not only trying to embrace failure and discover, you know, truth and presence and the technique of clowning, but then what that holds for you as being a person of color in this room where you're the only one, and then, you know, what that holds, you know, what that holds for my ancestors, you know, and doing this. I think about it in that way, as like, you know, because I think, well, I want to speak for myself in my family and community, you know, that there was this sort of, not completely, but sort of negative thing about clown. Like, clown was like, kind of like, that clown, did you see that clown did down there? That clown owes me money. That clown, you know, took my car, or whatever, however it was described, what, you know. And then if you see someone clowning, you know, sort of a person of color clowning on like TV or something, it wasn't necessarily, it was like a kind of a stereotype. It wasn't like you know, a positive thing that Black people felt good about all the time historically. So then you are in this, you know, room, if you're working collaborative with people, and maybe you're the only one in the room, and it's like, how do you know, you have to peel off all these layers before you can even get to like the work or the fun of it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And or what it's supposed to be. And um so is it, you know, my journey is interesting in being that first Black clown to do this, or first Black clown to do that, or like whatever. And so but I must say, the experience that I've had when I've, you know, had little brown children come up to me when I'm in a show or doing full clown is like magical. Like, they're just looking at me like amazed, you know, like you know, like there's something about seeing yourself doing something that you didn't think was possible that you could do.
Right.
And so I think that we just, those of us that are embracing this craft and this technique, have to just keep doing it. And then the other side of that is that you know, also people have to just keep hiring us to do it. Right. And having vision for what we look like, and what's and for their picture of whatever they're presenting. So not only can we be productive, but I think that we can challenge some of the organizations to create more platforms for us to learn and grow and create and clown.
Right. Yeah, totally.
I don't know if there's an order, and I don't want to take up too much space. So, Carolyn, if you want to skip the line, you know, I follow Black women. You can do that. But I will say that, you know, when I think the question was bringing clown to Black people, and I don't think Black people got the clown. It's already there. I mean, if you mean like wigs and noses, I don't know about that one, right? Because, you know, our hair naturally defies gravity, you know, when we have beautiful noses. And so that piece I think is always going to be challenging, of like that Ringling Brothers image of clown. But when you talk about physicality in our community, it's there. When you talk about, you know, punching up, like looking at what has the power and making fun of it and challenging it, we do that. If you talk about taking a sad and tragic moment and flipping it, we've been doing it for centuries. So I think that, yeah, like clown is very much part of the Black experience. It's been my experience in barbershop. It's been my experience tearing up in Sunday school. It's my experience at barbecues. It's my experience. It's definitely part of my Black experience, and it's also how I've coped with what it means to be Black in this country. And I think that the reason why clown kind of seems like it's far away, if that's not many Black clowns, is because it ain't no joke to be Black in this country. So it's like, what, you know, I'm gonna go to school to learn how to like make jokes, or so yeah, my first question is like, we already got it. And then my first answer and my second answer would have been, oh, make the classes free. You know, because I you know, shout out to Clown Jim and Michelle, and like there's other folks who put things on a sliding scale, who do scholarships and different things like that. But like when you acknowledge that, like, I don't have discretionary income, like to do this thing that's just deep inside of me and to learn, and that maybe I could just learn on my own, because I do think life is the ultimate clown teacher. I think that, you know, that's part of it. You know, I really wanted to go to clown school. I sure as hell didn't tell anybody, because, you know, my mom was grooming the Obama before Obama was Obama, or maybe Obama was Obama. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying that I didn't feel like that was an option for me. To be an artist, period. My dad was a musician. And so being an artist was already kind of like risky, even though that was a big part of the Black tradition. But being a comedic artist was out. And I think that, yeah, we got to encourage arts in our community as a purpose, not just as a hobby. But I think Black folks have clowning already. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I love all of those answers. I don't think I have necessarily anything more to add to what Michelle and Omari just said, but just to highlight like the emphasis on clowning, yeah, can seem far away, but to those folks in the Black community, folks in other communities, but to correct the narrative that clowning is one of the oldest traditions. It's a part of the origin stories of indigenous peoples here in the Americas. It's in the Mali culture in West Africa and Central Africa. I mean, clowning is everyone's. So, and it's always held as in those cultures, especially if you're talking about like indigenous and like ancient cultures, like it's held the role of binding a society together, because it's through the clown that comments on like what are the norms and let's upend those norms. And so this entity of the clown has like always served to evolve communities. You know, it moves us. It gives us the clown is the space where we can explore the inappropriate so that we know how we want to move in other spaces and help keep challenging ourselves as a community. So the clown is like a world tool. It's a world entity. It's in the original like indigenous, you know, like universe, you know, like gods and spirit. So I think the more we tap into that and know that, then it's like, oh yeah, this is my birthright. Actually, this energy inside of me, to find it, to reveal it, and to revel in it is one of the oldest acts I can do. And it's not being white. As now things get messed up in the gays here in the States, you know, we're kind of touching on that, but to really correct that narrative that it's been around pre all this, and it's been trying to teach us how to be more human for a long time. So I think that's important to keep in mind.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I feel
it would be great if that showed up more in you know, that showed up more for us, because that's not what you're talking about. Seems to have been lost somewhere. And so if we, that where's, making room for that perspective, because sometimes it's even about clowning is about perspective, like or being able to I mean, I know so many people that have this like definite edge, razor edge definition of what clowning is, and if you're outside of that, it's like we don't know what you're doing, but to me it's big, it's huge, and sometimes we only see this narrow view in certain mainstream circuses or whatever. There's not, is there room for all of that historical clowning and those historical characters that are clown? So
yeah, all of you beautifully said. It's there's so much there. That is so important. Great. Thank you. So great. So we were talking about how clowns were once celebrated, and we're still celebrated, but between scary clowns, et cetera, and we've kind of lost this kind of idea of joy and clown. But additionally, Michelle said that got lost somewhere, and mentioned the history of America, and I think I really wanted to talk to American clowns, because I think that minstrelsy and blackface were once one of the most popular forms of entertainment in America. And that's you can't, it's just, in that, while there were some brilliant Black performers who also donned blackface, and did, were beautiful, brilliant performers. Blackface started, of course, not by us. Of course, blackface and minstrelsy were started by these white men who were unhappy, or were racist and unhappy about where they were in regards compared to the higher ups. So a lot of this physical comedy, minstrelsy and blackface are a huge part of entertainment in America. Shirley Temple has donned blackface. Judy Garland has donned blackface. You can't deny how big it was. And so, to get to my question, what is the relationship between traditional American clown as we know it and blackface and minstrelsy? And how do we separate ourselves from that? Or rather, how can we utilize it to share history, to tell our stories, to say, F you to man? How, if it's able to be utilized, how can we utilize it? And if we should separate ourselves, or should we separate ourselves? So there's a few ideas in there. Let me know. Go ahead. Whoever wants to go ahead.
I feel pretty passionately about not separating, and I'm gonna say why. I think because these were professional and virtuosic and expert clowns who had to be seen, to get paid, had to do it under the white gaze. And so I take like Mantan Moreland, right? I think that when I look at those films, they're still very, very much funny. He's showing the silly things that happen when you're scared, the silly things that happen when you're in love, you know, when you're poor, all these different things. But to make those films, he had to also show himself or model himself on the way that white people was acceptable to the white gaze, because that's who was in power. But I think that it's important to still be able to watch those films or watch anything that we see as like cooning or any of that stuff, and just remember that behind that is a brilliant performer who did what they had to do at that time to still be able to do the thing that was very true and beautiful, and that, you know, these films were also enjoyed by the Black community as well, right? And so I don't want to separate it. I want to like not blame these folks for doing it. They had to do whatever they had to do to get by. You know, they wore blackface, but I wear whiteface every day to, you know, like an invisible whiteface to just be professional and get a job and do the different things, right? Like there's a mask that I think you have to wear in general to survive. And it's not just, and sometimes it's an invisible nose and you make a clown out of yourself. So I think it's important to like, to reclaim that as just like, these were our great physical performers. That's just important to me. I also think, like, you know, Michelle's been hitting on this, is like, it's kind of so big, like, how do we reclaim it as past the circus thing? I think it's just really, there's just too many different examples of what clown is. And you know, quick story. The moment that I was allowed to be a clown for the first time was, I was 15 years old, and my mom took me to church. And at the time, gospel miming became very popular. And I don't know if white folks know about it. I don't know if Black people know about it. But gospel miming is when you're in a church and you mime out a gospel song, literally. And you put on the white paint and you mime it out. And this was really popular in the church I went to. And my mom forced me, kicking and screaming, Michelle, forced me to be in this gospel troupe, right? But because I was good at it. I was good at miming things out, but I didn't want to wear the white paint. She was like, you're not a mime unless you wear the white paint, right? And that was like an aha moment of like, I could do all the miming things you want, but you want me to do this thing so that I look traditionally like a clown, and so, or like a mime. And so I think that, oh, someone's good. Someone in the chat has seen gospel miming, because at first I was like, am I crazy? Like, it's a thing. So like, yeah, I think we're challenging what clown period is, but Carolyn hit this. The gaze is really important. Who is watching us? Because how I show up, what kind of clowning I do to an all-white audience is way more bouffant. It's way more like, I want you to be as uncomfortable as me. So I want to pay attention to why you're laughing. But with a diverse or all-Black audience, I feel a little more comfortable, like, you know, really being like imbecile or absurd or playing a little lower status, because I'm like, yeah, I know that I'm not really like this, and not all Black people are like this, right? Cool. So let me play it like this with y'all. But with the whiter folks, I'm gonna play a whole different type of clown, because I don't know why y'all laughing at me, and I gotta be clear. So that's why I just want to chime in on that.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head right there with your example of clowning for Black people and clowning for white people, with that fear. And why is that fear there for us, that you're laughing at me for the wrong or right reasons? It's because of the history in this country of minstrelsy, because what was portrayed was a, you know, monolithic or whatever portrayal of Black people, and that was damaging. It was actually damaging because it translated into real life. You know, it translated into real life, and white people expected a certain thing. Some white people expected a certain thing because of what they saw, you know, in these shows and things. And so I think it's important that we acknowledge that minstrelsy in that way. Like, I don't, you know, like, it just has the, you know, it's just the truth. It's a part of our history for sure. And I think that it's important to, you know, to have the conversation, for it to be acknowledged. I want it to be acknowledged when I enter a room full of clowns. I want to be acknowledged when I enter a room full of clowns. But acknowledging that history is like, it acknowledges that I, you know, how far we've come or whatever. I don't know what it acknowledges. I'm rambling at this moment, but like, there's just something about it that about all this whole time, the truth of our whole history, like the truth, just tell the truth. Like, that's it. Like, it's not to be erased. It was so horrible that we can't talk about it or we need to erase it. What about just presenting the truth? How about that? And it's bad. It hurts. It doesn't put some people or their ancestors in a great light, but suck it up, get over it, and let's, just be truthful about where we're coming from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all covered it with that. I want to, I'm not sure I have any more to add except to reflect that what I'm hearing that both Omari and Michelle are saying is that like we have to acknowledge it because we can't escape that history, right? That is why we're having this conversation. That is why we're like, I mean, I think for me, I realized it when I was in a workshop and I was in my clown logic, which is a very different logic than like this world. I was like, yes, I got my plastic dress, my blue and white checkered that I thought was amazing. I had my big old belt. I had my socks pulled up because my clown liked the socks pulled up. And then my like 2018 logic came crashing in and I was like, wait a second. I look like a pickaninny. Wait a second. Wait a second. And I was like devastated. I was like, oh, pull the socks down, take the dress off. My mom was rolling in her grave. Like Harriet Tubman did not free me for this moment, And so it was like, so yeah, we can't escape our history, nor should we want to, but we have to talk about it and acknowledge it because it is, like you saying, 2020 has taught us nothing. Everybody got to start telling the truth about a whole lot of things. And I just want to say, but to clarify, like the project of minstrelsy, in my opinion, is very different than the project of clown. It's not to say that those brilliant performers who were Black, who were human, who had talent in physicality and the art of timing and the art of like comedy, it just had all of that humanness had to be poured into this vase, which was quite ugly. And this, and so they had to take that form. That's just how it had to happen. But that vase, the form that it took, was the project of white supremacy. It was those shows were a tool to keep Black people in a certain place and for white people to feel better about themselves by seeing Black people in a certain place. And so it advances white supremacy, it justifies, right, what they were doing at that time. Because yeah, southern white men going up to the North and being like, this is what the Black people, it advanced a real corrupt project, which is diametrically opposed, in my opinion, right, to the art of like what clown is, which is to reveal the humanity. That minstrelsy did something evil, and it's still with us. So
I agree. I love that. I've never heard it put that way, but that is so right. And what it makes me think about is that it's not fully the truth.
It's not.
And for me, clowning is the truth. Yeah. Which makes it different. But I like the way you put it, that they're two separate projects. That I like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you brought up this memory around going into a space and then in the 2018 logic. Like, if there are any white people here and you're in a clown space, it's all white people and there's one Black person or two Black people, know that's what's going on, right? Like acknowledge that, like, every clown space I've been in, that is where while y'all are stretching and talking, I'm in the corner like, all right now, okay, so how far do I want to go? And then y'all like saying hi, I'm like, hold on, my warm up is all in here, right? And before I could even get to the physical, like I said, okay, well, the teacher gonna treat me a certain way. And clowning, like clown classes are intense, right? Like, might be mean to each other, you might throw tomatoes. So imagine we're doing the exercise, everybody's doing the same exercise. You go up, you walk into the room and people throw tomatoes at you, whatever, right? Everybody's doing that. It just hits different though. When I come up in there and y'all just throwing shit at me, like it just hits a little different. And so like I think that you just mentioned something about the costume, and it just brought back of like how many times I've been like, no, that's too much. And like to this day, I clown because I do think there is something around the nose and the hair that I think I want to play with. But I clown in very nice suits because I'm like, I gotta have a balance of black excellence, right? But I also want to just be black regular degular, to be honest, my normal black self. And what I'm really trying to reclaim is not even clown, not even black minstrel, it's just black joy. Because I just want to be able to have black joy and it not be co-opted for money, it not be just for your entertainment, that I get just to be happy. Like it's amazing that like I could be killed and I'm out here playing with pies. Like that's crazy, right? And that to me is why it's a radical act. So I wanted to uplift that. And also I was laughing at you, Carolyn, because like a clown, we work in threes, right? And so it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Michelle and Omari have said anything. I don't think I have anything except for this bomb, boom. Like you set it up every single time, and it's funny every single time.
It's so true. It's so
But
true.
you know, I think it's very true. That just like
It's
right.
so true.
I wanted to say, like, I think you're right about that. I never really thought about the whole red nose clown thing because I'm never comfortable in a red nose. I think it's why when I worked for Big Apple Clown Care, I picked a blue nose and I went through this whole thing of like trying to find my costume. My clown is usually like in a tie. I'm like a cross dresser in the you know my clown and it was just finding where I had to be, finding what's super comfortable. And when I found that I could have a different color nose, I'm like, all right, I'm breaking all kinds of rules. I might as well break that rule too. And that just worked. It worked for me, and it seemed to stick for me. So there's something there. I had never really thought that deeply about it, but I think there is something there about that red nose. I don't know.
Lex, can I ask a question? I know I'm not the moderator. I don't know.
No,
I'm clowning right
please,
now, literally.
please ask a question.
But
Please,
I we haven't had a conversation yet, Carolyn, Michelle, and I. So I'm curious of like, how would you describe your clown? Like, how did you find your clown? And how does it connect to your blackness, if it does, or if it doesn't? Is it like on its own, it's beyond, it's transcend blackness? I'm just curious.
Ooh.
Mm.
Okay.
Like everybody start moving, right? I gotta let that answer emerge from the depths.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that completely. It might come to me, but I know what it felt like getting in a room and playing with another black clown. And I clowned with. I got the great honor and pleasure to clown with Julie Pascal, and while I worked at the Big Apple Clown, and that this is one of those things where I was thrown into professional clowning, like for whatever reason, and didn't know what I was doing, and had lots of different wonderful partners. And I don't know if clown folks are in here. I love you all, but it was a hard process. It was a huge process to go through learning that, and hospital clowning is a whole other level that I bow to. Learned a lot, but it wasn't until I got in the room and on the floor with Julie Pascal, another clown at Harlem Hospital in New York, that I was like, okay, we could do this. And I just think it's like a perspective, not that I didn't have wonderful moments with other clowns in that job, but I think that there's a perspective that happened, that a comfortability or a knowing or a type of playing that happened and so I'll never forget the first moment that I got on the floor and clowned with Julie. It was like an amazing experience, and it made me more comfortable in other situations. Even it was almost validating to do that, and also just being in a mostly black hospital around black people clowning. It goes back to that shift. Like, okay, this is cool. We all know who we are. But I have to think about that question that you proposed.
I
It
see in
looks
the
like,
chat that folks are asking from Lex too.
yeah,
You gotta answer this question.
yeah, Lex. They're like, Lex, we want to know about your clown, Lex.
Okay. Okay. I feel like, I think I was watching a really great panel from Play the Fool Festival in Canada, and they did a panel as well for people of color, clowns of color, and someone was like, I have always felt out of place. Like I've always, like, I was a theater person. I've always felt out of place. Like I didn't fit anywhere. I was a performer, but I didn't, the roles, like we did thoroughly modern Millie the freshman year of high school, like the racist show. Like we did, like, it's just, I can go on, but just where do I fit into this place? So I stumbled across clown, and in stumbling across clown, my teacher, Mark Gindick, awesome clown.
What?
Mark, yes, taught me at SUNY Purchase, and he said, your clown is you, like you're your clown. It's just you, like heightened enough. Of course, like that's what we're all taught, like, and so I don't know. I think I've always been like the class clown type, like, but I like grew up in a white neighborhood, so like I also was like I got in trouble a lot for being the class clown, because I was the only black one in the, and I think later on in my life I kind of made me shy away, and I think my clown is a little shy. Like they like to like creep on stage and barely and be like, "Woo," and show a little bit and then hide back. And I think it's funny because I'm not shy, but I do feel a little introverted, a little shy. And I think it's funny that this shy little being is blossoms and like does all these little fun little hat tricks and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's me. That's me, and I did it. Yay.
Hey. I don't remember which clown teacher. I'm so sad I don't remember which clown teacher I had that told me this, and I didn't believe it. But they were like, they actually told me the opposite of what you just said. Like they're like, your clown isn't who you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Your clown is never who you need it to be, or never who you want it to be. It's just it's its own entity. And because I was like, at the beginning of my clown journey, I was like, yeah, my clown is gonna be like like just not this frilly girl. Like I don't wear dresses at all. I hate dresses, and but my clown just happens to always gravitate towards like girly things and sparkles. And I was like, who the is this? Like every time, and then like in multiple places that same entity shows up, and I was like, oh, that teacher was right. This is not who I wanted. But clearly this is like what's like part. I mean, I know we have a 1,000 personas, and I definitely am not to the extent of that you all are in terms of like clowning and professionally and all that, and but from what I have discovered, it's like so far it's never who I want it to be. So I think that was really powerful also to learn that this entity is so me and doesn't present like at all how I thought they would, and I love them. And I know that I don't know. I love the nose. For me, and that's kind of like, I wrote a show that's like part clown show and like part, I don't even know what to say, like muggle reality. Like it's like half clown show, half like this world. Even though I haven't read the Harry Potter books yet, but I hear they're amazing, clearly. So and at the end of it, like the woman like has like a clown nose in her pocket. Cause for me, as soon as I do like put on that little tiny mask, like I can just feel like the tether to wonder and to like a different kind of logic feels like it's infusing my being, and so I don't know the other answer to that question, Omari, about like how does that entity that I found respond to you know, the logic of being Black in America, I'm sure, I'm
Right.
sure they would like lift up their dress and put my ass be out, you know, like, I don't know. I haven't put it in that scenario yet.
I haven't either. And I think that's why I asked it, because I was like, maybe they know, because I don't see my clown as Black, right? Like,
Yeah, no.
like it just, and it's, I think why that's why I love it. It's just like I can transcend all of that, and it's just so freeing to just be and be pure, and like my emotions, I can be as emotional as I want, I can be as mean as I want without like, you know. And I think that to me is what I don't want my clown. I want my clown to be that place that I can transcend. But the reality is the audience, like my work is getting the audience to do that too, which I don't know. I don't know if clowns in other bodies have that experience, but I know that for me, my work is like, okay, doing the work so you just see my clown, you see the soul or spirit of this, and not the body that it's in, not the color, and not the story you have about my people, you know, and that you become my people, right? And I think that, but I also wanted to shout out the hospital clowning thing. Healthy humor. There's a great clown and friend and mentor, Spark, who I think mentored me on that. It's not about doing the funny thing. It's about the beauty in doing the funny thing. Like if you're carrying a bunch of plates and they break all over, it's not about that. It's about that you pick up the piece and you're like, oh, you know, like it's that moment. So Spark and hospital clowning is real spiritual healing. I started clowning in protest to keep class safe from the police, because I thought I don't want to kick the clown's ass. I was wrong, but it was funny. It became, you know, and it became funny. And then I would become a clown. I was a clown cop for a while, which was hilarious to me. And then I was a clown protester, because, you know, politics is theater too. So like being able to make fun of all those things. So I didn't have an answer for it. I was hoping that like maybe.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for the, you know, how it connects to, you know, Blackness, but you reminded me that, yeah, you know, I went through that and I go through that of my clown totally being not what I think that is going to happen. Like my clown is always like this overly emotional, unskilled mess. You know, and and it really surprised me the first time I worked on cruise ships with ringling clowns. That was my first experience with I was trained by these ringling clowns for this clown program on ships, and they were also highly skilled with all the things. And you know, I ended up having to learn how to juggle, and you know, they were like, you got to learn how to juggle or else you got to leave or whatever. So I learned how to juggle and pass clubs, but they could do all kinds of things. So when we were making up these bits, it was always them doing these amazing balancing and juggling and sword things, and then me like going out there and putting a ring around my hand, my arm. But the audience they were laid out about it, you know. So I was always like the most unskilled, ridiculous clown.
It's that truth.
yeah, that's it. So there, and there's so much to that. There's so many, you know, there's so many skilled clowns, you know, so it's hard when you don't have all those skills, but you just got to give into it. I'm talking to myself. I just have to give into it.
Omari, I wanted to jump back on what you said about, also Michelle just talked about it, about transcending, how your clown like transcends race or
transcends time. This is crazy.
That is.
This
went on like an acid trip.
I love the chat.
I am definitely on
I just graduated last year from 3 just. Oh, is everything okay?
Everything's great.
Yeah,
everything's fine.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No, the internet was funny for a second.
Okay, great, cool.
Now we're back.
I'm glad it was only one time, because I was like anticipating like so many more. Anyway, cool. I I just graduated from SUNY Purchase College, baby clown, back to baby clown, and pat on the back. And I did a senior project. It was a one-man show, and I just went on stage and I like did a hat trick and I like did a dance. I danced to Shaka Khan and I like, you know, I also danced to country, like all this and that. And like someone at the end came up to me and was like, someone who I was helping me out on the project, who was like a mentor, was like, that was the blackest clown show I've ever seen. And I was like, it took me back and I was like, hey, like, is it because Shaka Khan? Like, is that it? Like, it was just like, that wasn't in my, like, me. I think it comes back to like, it's who's the audience? Like, in my black body, just like, I guess like extruded like blackness. I don't know. It's just like, I didn't see it like that. Like, not that it's like a problem, but I just like, it wasn't like, it was like, I was like, okay, like, is it because I'm black? Is that because it was the blackest show you've ever seen? So like, so I think, so going back to like I kind of, yeah, it's like an out of body experience. Clowning is like, I'm just this, like the true self, like beyond body. I'm just, while I'm using through my body, I'm, you know, I'm just this, I'm me, I'm this, I'm the truth. Cool. And Omari, thank you for that question, because I think it was a really great question to wrap it up before our Q&A. Okay.
Well, and just one thing.
Go ahead, sure.
I think that should serve to remind us that it shouldn't surprise us that our clowns are not linked necessarily to like blackness, since that all of that has been a construct, right? I mean, that should just further serve the point that we are humans first, right? And then of course, the advent of enslavement and capitalism, they had to construct these notions that have now concretized over time. And of course, being a Black American and queer, I'm living through this, and I love my Blackness, whatever that, you know what I mean? It's like it's in my DNA. I get, like, if y'all want to call it that, right? But as I am operating in this logic, which is so deeply me, it should just serve the fact that like, oh yeah, humans created some bullshit. Can I say that on the webinar? I don't know. It's a webinar. Yeah. So you know what I mean?
Bullshit.
It's like, oh yeah, it's not even, it shouldn't even quite surprise us that it should transcend, or it's us, and we got stuff laid on top of us real deep. But it's a human, the freedom of it all is that we get to connect to our essence, which is beyond it. Of course, it's beyond everything. We're amazing. We're stardust, and I'm in this body.
That was so poetic and beautiful. We're stardust.
I didn't make that up. That's, they've been saying that forever. Okay. That we're stardust, because we're made of the stars. Like, we're made of stardust. We literally are, I think.
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Before we move on, anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you're trying to, yeah? Anything? Omari's thinking. I got a thumbs up. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's move on to our questions. If you had, I would love to go through the chat right now, but if you can get to the Q&A, please, if you have your question in the chat, please put it in the Q&A so that just we have everything. I don't have to scroll through everyone's, like very nice things that they're saying. I see them like out the corner of my eye. But yeah, if you have one in the chat, just throw it right in the Q&A and then we'll go from there. Cool. All right, let's look at what we have. And panelists, you guys can also access this as well and take a look. Okay, we have one question from one of my best friends since I was 14, Kat Taylor. Kat Taylor says, hi, hello. How has the quarantine impacted your clowning?
I started talking to my puppet.
Hi, puppet.
No, yeah, I'm just gonna say that being thankfully my wife is quite playful, and so we have it's just there's been a lot of play and a lot of laughter, because you can, clowning is that energy, right? And so that's accessible all the time. So that would be. And yeah, I was like, I'm gonna learn how to be a ventriloquist because I'm an actor and I don't care. I can't talk on stage. The show is just canceled. So let me like talk to myself and make up sketches. There we go. That's my answer, y'all.
Amazing. Yeah.
I've been trying to get more skills. Practice some juggling more in this quarantine. But also, it's been interesting to teaching clown through this whole thing. Like exits and entrances. How do you, like all these different ways of trying to connect and do stuff has been interesting. It's just been a whole different world, a whole thing that just performing in general to explore through this way of performing has been something that never would have thought I would have been exploring. It's all new.
Yeah, I don't think that quarantine has changed any of my clowning. I do miss the audience because I can't tell if people are laughing. I'm like looking like I don't know. I can't even see an audience. A big part of my clowning is eye contact and sitting in the moment and the cringe. And I can't tell if people are looking. I can't tell if people. Well, thank you. But like I miss. I think the thing about clowning for me is like I'm not a video performer. We are creating this moment together. I came in with a plan, and I'm ready to throw away my plan if something crazy happens in this moment. And I miss that. And so, but I've been learning. I work for Theater of the Oppressed NYC. We do shows and stuff. But I miss the crowd.
Oh, I guess I'll go. I'm with Omari. Like, I'm all about like reaching out and like really like being like, I see you, like you see me, we see each other, and we're gonna have this moment together, and we're gonna like it, or maybe not. We'll see. And so, one, I've been so as a fresh like I've been thrown into the professional world like in quarantine, but I've been thankful to be a part of things like this, and I've just been doing a lot of videos, a lot of just putting my phone on like 3 stacks of books, and then because I'm too broke for a tripod, and I just put that up and I just film myself doing things and doing hand puppets and that. So that's it. It has changed only that it is less rewarding. Not just that, but it is less rewarding, but I'm still able to reach out and hang out with people like you three, and I'm still been able to connect with other clowns. And Clown Gym, shout out to Clown Gym for and Do the Funny Show. Do the Funny Clown Show was a thing for a while, and that has really helped me practice. And Clown Gym on Zoom has helped me just like clown around. So yeah, okay, cool. Who's next? I'm trying to go in order. Let's see.
I saw Meredith go. Oh no, it changed. Never mind. Sorry.
I will say a lot. I just want to say something. A lot of these questions you could Google, y'all. Okay, I just want to say, let's Black labor. Okay, like I'm not here for you to answer. Like, what is clown? Where is there clown school? Google it, baby. Okay. Joking. I'm not joking.
Okay, let's see. Let's try to find a non-Googleable. I'll just go in order as I see them. In training, let me read it. Okay, in training, the pedagogy usually demands vulnerability and failure. Oh, it's gone. It just disappeared. Oh.
Yeah, it was weird because I saw Meredith Gordon's was up at the top and then it disappeared. Interesting.
I have Deborah Kaufman said, in training, the pedagogy usually demands vulnerability and failure.
Yes, that's
How
it.
do you navigate the difficulty being the only Black body in the room? What can teachers do what can teachers do to make you comfortable? So I'm ignoring my clown's answers right now.
I want to say like that we, again, as Carolyn said, we as humans have created this nasty thing that is like the concept of race, and that isn't just the human race, and it'll never, because I think in 1,000 years we'll all be brown and it won't matter, but that's 1,000 years from now. So right now, all you can do is be honest with yourself. As Omari just taught in a clown gym workshop, oops and ouch. If you make a mistake, oops it. If someone calls you out, oops. And hold yourself accountable, and move on. That's all you can do is learn. All we can do is learn, and just, just listening. So that's my answer.
I think that there's also this term of like, that I was thinking about the other day, as I was thinking about how I teach it, or when I've done some teaching of it, I would call it conscious clowning for my students. Like I'm in a liberal arts environment, and I have found that some of the exercises that maybe I did in training, I would never do for students, because I love that the pedagogy is you give them exercises that where it purposely puts the student in the unknown, in ahead of their like conscious thought, and they have to figure out, and a lot of those exercises sometimes are rooted in, hey, do this accent and do this and do this thing. And I wouldn't do those, right? So there, as a teacher, there are some exercises that I would kind of take out of my pedagogic plan, because in a liberal arts environment, at least, we don't need to go there. There are other exercises. There's plenty of other exercises that won't bump up against cultural stereotype or playing an accent of a people or a group of people from a particular country or place. We don't need to do those. There's other ways to get at that moment of, I have no idea what this is, but I still got to make a choice anyway and live in the discomfort. There's a lot of other things we can do. So I think as a teacher, and I defer to Michelle, been teaching it more, but like there's a hand picking of exercises. There's a creating of a space before we start, so that I acknowledge, so that I as a teacher do the labor of saying, hey, this is gonna land a lot of different ways on all the different bodies. And if I say that out loud, if I acknowledge everyone's positionality and acknowledge the fact that this might be a primarily white space, and I don't want you laughing at me for some things, we just gotta get that, like Michelle's saying, like everybody's saying, like just we gotta tell the truth about it. And we gotta tell the truth. The teacher's role has to tell the truth at the beginning to create this zone of, oh, okay, we're about to stretch our comfort zones, and that's gonna look really different for all the different bodies in the room. Because some, kid from different ethnic group or positionality doesn't have like all these interlocking impressions, they might feel totally free to be vulnerable and sing a song and then make an ass of themselves, right? Otherwise, this other person from a whole different background is like, no, my parents sent me here to become a doctor, and I need to bring the rest of my family here. So, there's so many different like stressors on, and we don't know that, but if the teacher brings it up in the first place, it makes it a lot easier then for the students when there is an ouch to be like, oh, hey, this is that moment that we all talked about at the beginning. This lands on me different. Let's talk about it. And so it's like, boom, great. So the teacher does conscious clowning, not just like, let's be, you know what I mean? You gotta do it with awareness.
And hire Black teachers. Like, did you just hear Carolyn? Just hire Carolyn, hire Michelle, hire me. Like that could help too. I mean,
Why I'm the only black teacher in the room? That acknowledgement, I think, is important. What you're talking about, that um, in some cases, I mean, not that you want to literally do that. Why are you the only black person here? What made you come? You know, like, no, but just kidding. Kidding. Jokes, jokes, people, jokes.
Wow.
So there's I'm gonna rein it in too. I was about to make it, yeah. The clown jokes come out too. Sorry. Appropriate.
Is there another question, Lex?
There's so many questions. Does someone want to pick a question?
Hey, I was looking at one that
Okay.
Meredith Gordon.
Go ahead. Yeah.
You said Michelle mentioned being pulled into clowning. I'm curious, what drew you to clowning? What was your source of resistance? And what was your moment of letting go to claim that identity? This question is for everyone. Uh, yeah, like I was saying, I was, you know, training in acting and training in classical acting, which I did have clowning in there, but I don't know, but it was just denial. I'm okay. That's just the bottom line. I was a clown all my life. Like, I got class clown every year that I was ever could be awarded it. You know, I was doing physical comedy all the time. It just didn't come out. I had never seen anyone like me do clowning, you know, like in that way. So I didn't realize that that was something that I should be doing or could pursue, or that it would, you know, that it would turn my life around. And Amy Gordon, Amy G, for those of y'all know that, she was my, you know, she pulled me into clowning. She was like, "You are a damn clown. Now get over here. We're gonna make a show," and just sort of forced me to like make this clown show with her. And from that, we were rehearsing this clown show called A Tale of Two Sillies in Washington Square Park. We were teaching ourselves how to juggle and doing all this crazy stuff. She and I was kind of like rolling my eyes doing it. But then this woman walked up to us and said, "Hey, we're looking for more women clowns to join our clown troupe. We're going to be making this clown program on cruise ships, and you guys seem to be doing something close to what we think." So, you know, the opportunity is we'll fly you down to Orlando, we'll train you for 6 weeks, and then you'll travel on cruise ships for the next year. And we were like, "Oh no, you know, we got stuff going on. We're producing our own show. It's called A Tale of Two Cities," you know, like, no, no, no. But then when we were home that night, we were roommates, we were like, "Wait, did she say that we're going to fly to Orlando, they're going to train us and pay us, and like, we're going to go on cruise ships?" And we're like, "Where's that card? Did you keep that card? Get that card." So that was my intro to clowning, was Amy Gordon dragging me in. And once I started training and finding out what how wide it was, and then, you know, the opportunities that just kept coming and coming, I was like, okay, I can't deny this. Like, I've got to really study this. I got to get with some masters, and I got to master this, because I was working before I even knew what I was doing. I had never had anything. So once I started working, and then people started just rallying around me, and I was like, I can't deny it anymore. I can't fight this. I'm a damn clown.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Sorry, I took up a lot of time.
No, that's
amazing.
No, I like
yeah,
that story.
no, like, please. I'm just trying to think, like,
I'm looking at the questions. There are a lot of good ones here. So I got one here. What would you like all want the future of clowning to look like on and off the stage intent? And Omari, how do you bring living in the cringe and uncomfortability to your everyday life? I plugged. I work for Theater of the Oppressed NYC. I do comedic art to, like, specifically to fight oppression, and I think that it just feels really powerful to make other people uncomfortable. Like, I think, and challenge that, like, to talk about race is supposed to be an uncomfortable thing, and I like challenging that. Like, why is it supposed to be uncomfortable? It shouldn't be uncomfortable. Let's just do it. Even if we do it messy, even if we make mistakes, like, let's lean in the cringe. I've been thinking like, so there's the book White Fragility, and there are these Zoom readings of white fragility that only white people can attend. And I'm gonna drop in on some of them because I just want to see what happens, right? Because what happens is like, this is the only white space, black, no, no black people, or like, do I get to stay? Like, will white fragility, there's that to me is a funny situation in which like, I think that like, there's just little examples of that. I like playing with the absurdity of white and black, the absurdity of binaries, which are ridiculous. Like, and I also want to shout out all the genderqueer clowns who I would not be here if I had not been around. Because basically, I'd go into a class, my first clown gym class, and there was a trans clown who basically welcomed me and just like not make a big thing, but just like it just made it so clear that like we are both gonna like have to fight some things internally in our minds and challenge what people think about our bodies. And so I love anyone who plays with gender and clowning. And there's a lot of cringe and uncomfortability with that too. So I like that. It makes me feel powerful when like I'm gonna say the thing that's cringy and everyone's gonna cringe, but I prepared myself for it, so I'm gonna sit in it. Like yesterday, Julia might remember the name of the thing is called Noses Off. I mistakenly called it Nooses Off. It was just this tight moment, right? And it was just like but like I just wanted to sit in it for a little bit, right? Lex, you can laugh, right? But like I'm sure there's some white people at home like, right? And that is like, is it what I said that was like, or is it because of the history of what we don't talk about that makes you go, right? It's not what I said. I made a mistake, quote unquote, right? I'm a clown. So I like doing that. I like just flipping out. Like, is it me that's the issue, or is it something that we're not? So that's
Cool. Carolyn, do you want to pick a cue?
Ooh.
Take a look.
I see one at the top. I have it. It was Michelle. You mentioned coming from a classical acting background. Do you feel a connection to the clown fools in Shakespeare? Do they inform or influence your work as a clown?
Not really. Not really. I guess, once when I look back at that and I can recognize that as a clown and recognize that more informed and more educated and more experienced in clowning, I can appreciate it more than when I was studying Shakespeare for just studying Shakespeare. But it doesn't inform the specific characters don't necessarily inform my clown in any way, more or less.
I have a reflection on that too, even though it wasn't particularly addressed, because I definitely was trained in that classical theater a lot. I've done it a lot. And I was really happy. So just a thing I noticed, I'll say this is like a noticing. I had a great director, Jessica Kubzansky with the Boston Court Theater here in LA, like shout out to them. But she cast me as Hermione and Autolycus. And I think to that point, and that's in Winter's Tale. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't played the male clown in a show before. So my only reflection was, the men have been having all this fun all this time. Like playing Autolycus was my favorite ever. Cause and I think that was like my clown. That was like a little bit of my clown, beginning of my clown journey. So yeah, I mean, that wasn't for me, but the only reflection I have is like, man, those rogues in Shakespeare's, that needs to open up. I mean, not that classical theater needs to open up, period. Like that's a whole different conversation, but that was a reflection that I had. I was like, oh, this feels so free. Why am I playing Hermione and all the queens and stuff? And it's just like, no, I want to be the clown in all of these.
Okay. I'll pick one. I see from my lovely, wonderful friend, Vincent Rauccio. Has there ever been a moment where you hated clowning? What's your experience with embarrassment as a clown? Do you find it easy to recover, bounce back, or has that been something that you struggled with? I think embarrassment can be used as a tool. in clowning. Again, as I think Carolyn said it, or maybe I don't know. One of you said it, and you said it's learning, it's excelling and failing, or it's learning how to fail and succeed, or being okay with failing. And you can utilize embarrassment in your clown. It's the truth. If you're embarrassed, show it. And it's more often than not funny because the people in front of you can relate. Let's see. I have never hated clowning. I have hated that I love clowning, only because of the connotations of the word clown, and similar. We talked about some of that, and also just like the word clown is not like, it's not a compliment, all like in Muggle, as Carolyn says, world. And I'm sorry, yes, J.K. Rowling. We don't love J.K. Rowling. Sorry, I said that, and it's true. So put that on the record. Anyway, yeah, I think that you can use it as a tool, and yeah, and yeah, and that's it. That's it for me.
I remember, I don't know if I would say hating, but I had a really, maybe it was a love-hate relationship when I first worked for the hospital clowning, because I was so inexperienced and didn't know what the hell I was doing, that, and these clowns are highly skilled and on their thing and know exactly what they're doing. And it was so much failure all the time. And at the time, I hadn't had enough training to know that I just needed to live in that failure and let it bounce off and play in that moment and be embarrassed or be wrong or whatever it was. So I remember it was a difficult. I had a difficult time in clowning in that period of my clowning life. And it was just before I knew those, like, solidly was secure with knowing those rules. But I just remember I would come. I was like, I think you do like a 4-hour shift, but it's like you did like 16 hours in hospital clowning. And it was like, I couldn't do, when I first started doing that, I couldn't do anything else. I would be exhausted. I'd be asking myself, like, what am I doing? How could I do this? I don't know what I'm doing. This is awful. I'm awful, So there was a period, but that I learned so much from doing that job. I did it for about 4 years, and it was a learning curve. But if I ever came close to like hating myself as a clown, it was probably then. But in the end, it was an amazing experience.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Let's see. Let's do one more for everybody. Let's see. Let's find a good one. If anyone sees one, please go ahead. This one's general, but I like it. It says, it's also like kind of heavy. What's the risk you regret, and what's the risk you hope to take?
Is that like a poem?
Quite poetic, I think. Thank you, Stephanie, for that question.
Say it again.
What is? Oh, I lost it. There are things happening in Zoom. You need to fix this. What's the risk you regret, and what's the risk you hope to take? Which I think is like, sorry. Well, hopefully we have time for everybody, but please, if you think of a risk that you hope to take or that you regret.
Gosh.
I try not to regret anything. I think like no regrets. Like yeah. I just try to learn from my mistakes, and you know, a risk I hope to take. Just getting, I'm shy and I'm scared. And I have terrible performance anxiety, but alas, this is what I do. And I just, I hope to no longer let that get in front of me. I've let that's the thing I regret. I regret, maybe it's not a risk because I didn't take the risk, but I regret when, you know, something was placed in front of me. I got an email and I let it go because I was scared. I regret that. And I hope to that email and then not lie about having a personal emergency.
That's amazing.
Yes. And that's my answer.
Yeah, I think I regret. I always regret when I don't take the risk. When I look back and say, oh, I should have did that. Should have done that. You know, but it's always nice when you can go back and then you know, when you have another chance. But sometimes you don't get another chance. But I remember. Just a little story of when I got to working with the clowns in Cirque du Soleil when we were creating for the show. You know, it was super intimidating. Those French Canadian white guys it was very intimidating. And so that first creation, I didn't speak up enough. Like I didn't fight enough. I fought a little bit, but I didn't fight enough. Like, and it showed in like then what was developed. You know, it could have been, I just saw that it could have been a lot better had I spoke up and like been confident and not afraid and been intimidated by this white man's game that I was playing. and and so then, but then I did get a second chance. We got to go back into creation and create the show again. And I totally like was like, forget this. I am going for it. I am putting my ideas out there. We are going to do this idea. I'm forcing these guys. Like, I don't care if they don't know what I'm doing. We're going to do it. And then a lot of the stuff that I, you know, put forth and I was just putting forth, I didn't care if it stuck or not. It got put into the show. And I felt a lot better about the work and a lot better about that creation. And I got the chance to do it again. And I did it the way I wanted to. So, and you know, fear is usually the thing that keeps us from succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is real. I think everybody has it. Yeah, like someone kept saying professional. Carolyn, you kept saying like professional clowns. I'm like, who the hell is she talking about? Like,
oh, I know a lot of them.
Yeah. But I was like, you know, like naming myself as a clown forever. I was a comedic performance artist, media. I was all these other things because I couldn't juggle, right? Like, you know, so naming myself a clown and living in it, and then asking to get paid. You know, like I have a thing where I just always think like this is a thing that my gift. This is what I'm here to do, and that I guess I shouldn't have to pay. You know, or I shouldn't invest in it, and I also shouldn't receive. And so this is a good plug for that Venmo. But yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's so interesting because clown. You know, I was acting like theater, and like I said, in the class, trying to get into classical theater and whatever, and doing all these theater shows that was for exposure. Like exposure was going to pay my rent, but it wasn't until I did clowning that I ever got paid. And it was one of the reasons why I was like, yeah, I need to jump on in this because being an actor is not paying me. Being a clown, no matter what. I mean, like the first show I think I was ever like in New York was a Bindlestiff show, and they hand me a check for $25 in it, and I was like, what? It was amazing, it was amazing. This is like 20 years ago, and it was like, holy crap, I got paid for doing that. Like, I get paid every time. You give me an envelope every time. Like, so clowning means, in my mind, means getting paid to me. Clowns and circus performers don't do things for free, and most of the time, in the world that I've seen, was one of the exact reasons why I was like, okay, I need to master this.
Mm.
Carolyn, do you want to go ahead and answer? That's
the answer. Oh, I think just a risk that I'm looking forward to take is I kind of mentioned it before, like, but when we're back in able to like be in space together, I want to be able to try out the clown bits that I have in my show, and have put my own work up. So it is a huge risk because I don't know if those things are going to work. I don't know if it, and so that feels like a risk that I can't wait to take and see how it goes.
What's it called? I'm coming. What's the name of your show? Plug it now.
It's called Both And we were about to start to go into rehearsal before COVID, and then so in a year or two or whenever, I'm gonna be I'll put it up again. I'll put it up and explore. What can we crowdsource a term for what this world should be called that's different than the clown world? Like, muggle's not it, but like, how do I say, like, it's a show that has like clown logic, and like, what is this world? I don't know. Anyway, we can put in the chat at some point if y'all think of
throw it in the chat. What you think this world should be? Not
Carolyn. Great pun there.
Okay.
I love it. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, awesome. We got to get together and do an all-black clown show then. What's up?
Please.
It started here.
Yo.
I can't wait. It's going to be the blackest thing they've ever seen. A la Lex's teacher. That was so black. You are black. We got Negroes.
That's what we do. You just come out and go blackity black, 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 blackity black, 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 blackity black.
The end.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta start. Good.
I have so much love. In my heart. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. The three of you, for being open and honest and willing to, I was so nervous. And you guys made it feel like I was just talking to my family, like my homies. So thank you. I appreciate it. All right. And I just want to go around, ask where everyone can find you. Just give your website. I know we just had it up, but for people who weren't here that early, we're gonna have it back up again after. But where can they find you? Your Instagrams, your websites. Where can they find you?
circleup.fun, circleup.fun, Circle Up Events on any of the social media. It's called Circle Up Events. And Lex, great job.
Yes,
Yeah.
Lex.
Lex, you put this together, Lex. Lex, you were lagging and you killed it, Lex. Are you lagging now?
I think he's lagging now. That's ironic. That's like ironical.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No.
I'm lagging. Okay. Yes. Thank you guys. Yes. Thank you. Okay. I'm so happy. Thank you to our, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going. Tell me where you're.
I was just going to say, you can find me, I'm going to be here. There's a second wave. Second wave probably happening, so I'm gonna be inside. But you can also find me on my website, Soulfinger.com, Theater of the Oppressed NYC. I work with there, and I'm on Instagram. And yeah, I had a show in Canada that was canceled. Maybe we'll get to do it. If not, I'm doing the Blackly Black show in 2001. So look out for that.
All right, and
Yeah.
Carolyn.
Same, yeah. I love that you just said I'm inside. That's where you'll find me, like inside.
That second wave is coming. So
that second wave. So I'm gonna just be inside. I'll probably be inside as well. I guess. Yeah, but also on my website, carolynratteray.com or Instagram. I'm here in Los Angeles, so I can't wait for the Blackity Black show in 2020/2. Very excited. And yeah, and thank you so much. This is like filled my heart space so incredibly. I feel so like my natural to be this me around Black folk is just, I mean, it's really beautiful. Yeah. So thank you, Clown Jim. Thank you, Julia Proctor, and all the folks.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm so happy to say my website went live today. I spent a lot of money on it that I don't have. So hit that Venmo at Clown Jim. Hit that PayPal at juliaproctor@gmail.com. My website is lexalston.com. I'm very proud of it. Thank you. And my my Instagram is at Museum of Lex. Get it? It's funny. Museum of Lex. Get it?
Oh, I get it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Museum of Sex, Museum of Lex. There we go. Cool. All right. All right. I just want to say thank you to all our donors. Before we even started, we had donations. So thank you. Thank you to Michael Galligan. Thank you to Jared Bates. Thank you to Julia Proctor. Thank you to Clown Jim. Thank you to our lovely panelists. We have Carolyn Ratteray, Omari Soulfinger, and Michelle Matlock. Thank you to everyone for coming and supporting us and sharing and loving us. And that's all we got. So we're gonna hear some more from John Ralph Pierre, Ralph John Pierre, and we are going to send you off. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And goodbye.
Hi, thank you.
Have a good night.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Blackity Black.
Blackity Black show coming.
Blackity Black.
Everybody's sending signals I can't read. I can't even sense them. And I don't tend to miss a beat. That is disingenuous. I unsubscribe from the feed. We interact through apps. That feels insidious to me. Everything feels pitched up. Maybe that's the cut through. We don't get depth much. That bass used to rumble. I live in the low end. I live in the wet bog. Not scared of the dark. Don't mind the silence at all. I like eye contact. I grunt like an animal. I embrace like family. I don't pretend I'm casual. I trust laughs from the belly. Expression that is hellish. Talk I level with the child. Lies are for the devil. I just want to be myself. I don't want you to be scared. But that's out of my hands. That's why they sat me over there. Cause I gotta make chit chat. I gotta pretend that I don't see you hurting. And that you see I get that. I gotta pretend that. We ain't all confused here. I gotta pretend that I don't feel what I do feel. And it is not your fault, Ralph. Shut your mouth, can't talk, but I say something true. You gon' run and get cops, so I feel like I'm gagged. I can't be who I am, cause you won't be who you are till it's too late to ask. Am I in the wrong country? Is my attitude crummy? I swear to tell the truth and everybody looks insulted. This why I draw you in the deep waters till you drown. Why I must draw, I must rap, I must act for the crowd. Cause when you subtract all the noise, then the math wasn't sound. Cause I like life on fire and art wouldn't put me out. When the frightened mob of liars cry to high heaven that you're lying. When even the moon trying to hide from your howling cause it's violent. When your innocence is gone, it's been bust through like a hymen. When you gotta interpret God's answer out of God's silence. When the frightened mob of liars cry to high heaven that you're lying. When even the moon Trying to hide from your house cause they're violent.